Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Wright Human, cartoonist extraordinaire, and welcome to a very special live draw session. I am going to be doing some new art for my longest-running D&D character, Vennyx. I started playing this character almost 4 years ago today. We started at level 1, just absolute bottom level, and last week our party officially reached level 20, which is the max level in Dungeons and Dragons. We are very excited for this. And in honor of it, I thought Vennyx was due for some new art. I want to, in addition, by the way, before we get properly started, I want to welcome anyone from the Columbus Cartoon Coalition who happens to pop into chat. I'm doing a takeover of their Instagram this weekend, and this is part of it. So hopefully that'll be a thing. Hey, Jessica, glad you could make it. Always good to see you in the chat. So, what's up, Rainer? Woo woo, level 20. That's right. Rainer is also in this group. And in fact, Rainer is the only other member of the party who's had the same character along with me from level 1 to level 20. So that is pretty cool. Everyone else has pretty much been in there, but we've done a bunch of swapping around. So I'm going to start just to give a little context, because why not? This is a big deal in Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to talk a little bit about the character in question. So here he is. This is the first art of him from, what are these different layouts? There we go. That's probably going to be best. So this is the first art of him from 4 years ago. Vennyx comes from a setting called Ferlausen. Specifically an area of it called the Desert Coast. This is a homebrew setting created by my friend and fellow cartoonist Ariane McCrae, who is the GM for our campaign. And the concept behind this world is it's a low magic setting. Basically, thousands of years ago, there was a major cataclysmic event, and something called the Obsidian Wall got put up. Hey, speaking of Ariane, what's up? Awesome. I'm just explaining your world, so tell me if I get anything wrong. So major cataclysmic event happened, and a thing called the Obsidian Wall went up that blocked the material plane, our world, from all the spiritual and magical planes on the other side of it. And as a result, magic got mostly cut off. Holy crap, most of my D&D party is here. Hello, Haley. What's up? But yeah, so the Obsidian Wall went up, and it blocked off most sources of magic, and a bunch of different groups tried to figure out ways to stockpile magic, which is now a rare commodity, and tried to find ways that they'd still be able to use some of the basic things that different groups could do. The Dragonborn, dragon people basically, created things called dragon stones that they could use to recharge and get their dragon magic. This is some pure DM energy, by the way. Why would I tell you if you got wrong? The misconceptions are so much fun. Yep, that sounds about right. But basically, one of the groups that got hit the hardest by this were gnomes. Gnomes are naturally magical. They have a tie to the plane of fairy, which is the Feywild. And they, if they lost access to magic, they would be seriously hindered. They would lose a lot of their abilities. There would be major negative effects. So they came up with a solution where a spark of chaos, a little bit of chaos magic, was embedded into their hearts. And this is something that would be continued throughout the generation. So every new gnome would be born with a spark of chaos in their hearts. This turned out to be a very bad idea. It turns out the heart is not the best organ to use for something like this, because it's a very sensitive organ, very important to life. And what gnomes found out was if they were around too many powerful sources of magic, they could have heart attacks and die. And unfortunately, their hearts are now sources of magic, which means that if you actually got a bunch of gnomes together, it could kill them. So all of a sudden, gnomes who are traditionally very communal found themselves very much separated. Unable to be in more than small family units. And even then, usually that would have to break up. The second problem is, you know how I mentioned people were trying to stockpile sources of magic? Well, now gnome hearts were a source of magic that other people could use like batteries, which means that gnome hunters became a thing. Gnomes were hunted for their basically as a resource for people who wanted to be able to keep doing magic. Now, fast forward, thousands of years have passed, and we are in the present campaign setting. Vennyx is a gnome. So he was born into a world that is constantly trying to hunt him. When he started out, like, he broke out pretty much on his own. I think Jessica pretty much just captured exactly the feeling of all gnomes everywhere in this setting. Don't! By the way, let me know if my audio is weird. I tried using my headset, and for some reason it was screwing up the mic, so I'm just going off the computer mic. So Vennyx, before he was this guy, was this little guy. Hi, little guy. Vennyx and his sister, Estia, ended up pretty much on their own, like having to strike out without their parents at a very young age. Vennyx was 4, Estia was 7. So you had a 7-year-old, like, you have a child taking care of a child. It was not a good situation, but I mean, that's what gnomes had to deal with. So basically, from a very young age, they were together up until around when Vennyx was 17, Estia was 20, and the pack of gnome hunters cornered them in woods near a town called Denival, and unfortunately, Estia was not able to get away. She died, and Vennyx ran. My party is mad at me because of this piece of art I did of the event. It was not a good moment. But yeah, basically, Estia told him to run, and he did. And he's not forgiven himself for that particularly. So that's been a thing. Anyway, he's on his own finally. He decides he wants to leave the desert coast. So he goes to a nearby town called Denival, which is a port city. He tries to stow away and gets caught and gets the crap beat out of him. And he's about to basically be lynched in an alley. He's about to die. And he gets rescued when someone summons the guard. And that someone was another gnome. This is one of the earliest sketches I did of Kit. Kit saved him, nursed him back to health. They end up falling in love and getting married. I'm fast forwarding a little bit because there's a lot to get through, and I know most people are here for the art and not the story. But yeah, through Kit. Oh, fair. We stand Kit in this chat. We officially have everyone from the party in the chat. Hello, Destiny. Anyway, so you have so Kit nursed him back to health, got him in touch with some people in the Denival Guard who were able to teach him how to fight. You know, this campaign has been going on for 4 years, and I'm not sure I knew that was how they met. Oh, really? I thought I talked about that. Okay, good to know. See, you're learning stuff. There's a reason you guys are in the chat. So he also learned to fight during this time because he needed to learn something, learn how to defend himself. So he got set up with someone in the guard who was able to train him. Now, Kit and Vennyx had a pretty happy life for a little while. The problem is, I mentioned gnome hearts being a problem and making it difficult to cohabitate. Kit had an unusually weak heart. So this was a reason that she had normally been living alone and doing all that stuff, working, doing tinkering work and things like that. But then Kit got pregnant, and it got even worse because now she has another gnome battery growing inside her. It just wasn't working health-wise. There was a significant problem. And Vennyx made the tough decision the night his daughter was born to leave, because if he didn't, there was no way that there could be any kind of family unit. He wanted Kit to at least be able to stay with their daughter. And so he struck out to do work as a mercenary, but with an ulterior motive. He wanted to figure out a way that he could live with his family despite this condition. I specifically came up with this because one of the people in the chat, Rainer, used to do something a lot that I decided I wanted to give a try, and that was come up with a crazy goal for your characters to have as their long-term goal. And I decided his goal was, I want to figure out how to live without my heart inside my body. I wanted to remove my heart and not be dead so I can stay with my family. And that turned out to be a great motivation. So that's where everything kind of starts. Vennyx had basically been doing that for about 15 years, working as a mercenary, trying to find a solution, pretty much completely out of contact with his family. In fact, the only thing he had of them, I will bring this up real quick. Oh, do I not have it open? Wait a second. This is later art of him. Oh, I forgot to open one of the pieces of art. I will do that right now. Thought I had this all set up. But one of the only things he had, he got it very shortly after leaving, was he received a locket from Kit that had a picture of the two of them painted inside. Adorable little thing. I love this thing. Also, I didn't have it do it in this illustration because I was dumb, but at that point, Kit also wrote the name of the child, which was Estia, named after his dead sister, which didn't cause any confusion later when I was telling stories about this stuff. But yeah, so he has... Also, if you can't read it because the cursive's a little tough, it says, Vennyx, our hearts are forever in your hands. If you can't tell, this is a sappy character. I have a lot of fun with him. I appreciate how Vennyx's first thought was live without heart versus literally any other possible solution. You know, there's nothing but bad solutions in the Desert Coast. That's just kind of how it works. So anyway, Vennyx met up with the party. This is his level 8 art, but the other art was his level 1 art, what he was starting out with. And the funny thing is, 15 years exploring the Desert Coast. Hold on. This is not what I wanted you to do. There we go. 15 years of exploring the Desert Coast, and he only just finally met people who could actually do magic. Because one of the party members, Hope, was capable of doing it. And he started actually learning how some of the stuff works and learned that removing your heart, kind of a dumb idea. I'm getting DM confirmation. Nothing but bad solutions in the Desert Coast. Yes, this is correct. And also, the locket is one of my favorite things from Vennyx's backstory. The locket was great. It's sad that it's not there anymore, but that's another story. Anyway, so we start having adventures that start actually getting us close to magical stuff and start learning about how some of these things work. We learn about a lich that got banished from the world called Cadog, who had done some similar stuff. So it became pretty clear maybe it's not a great idea to do. As we're exploring around, meeting new people, there's some party changes, some big stuff ends up happening. One of the things that happens is some gnome hunters we happen to come across. And Vennyx, I was originally planning on Vennyx being a lot darker and more violent because, like, I always had the idea that almost like an Inglourious Bastards type situation, whenever he finds a gnome hunter, he really, really messes them up. He straight up he murders them, tortures them, whatever. Like, I was going to go very dark with it. And the first time that we came as a party across some gnome hunters that we actually dealt with, I was starting to like plan out what I was going to do with the environment. Like, I wanted to disturb the other players. And while we were interrogating them and getting information, one of them brought up that they'd been near Denival, which is where I'd left my family. So I showed them the locket and said, have you seen either of these gnomes? And he immediately goes, well, I've seen one, like, it looks a lot like that, the older woman, but younger. And at that moment, all of Vennyx's priorities changed. In his head, his family was safe, or at least the situation was dealt with. He just found out that gnome hunters had captured his daughter. And like, they don't say it explicitly. They didn't have a name, but it was pretty clear. And the thing that's crazy is he lets this gnome hunter live. Guy named Zeno. He does interrogate him more, and it gets nasty, but he gets more information and basically has him locked up in a nearby town, Lakemont, that they'd done some stuff with, and says, if your information checks out, we will have them let you go. Thank you for helping me save my daughter. So we end up booking it to across the desert coast to deal with this. We end up at a camp that, it's not worth mentioning. Sorry. I'm trying to condense this because there's a lot. We've been playing for 4 years. But one of the big things that we found out, they were hiding this. There was a cult hiding out in a cave that was taking a bunch of gnomes. It was capturing tons of them. And the way they were able to keep them together is they were working out of a cave that had a ton of anti-magic stones in the wall, like these purple crystals that when anything magical came in touch with it, it suppressed it. And we get there, and one of the first things we find out is that they've been making cages, basically, that the gnomes have been kept in. And if the gnomes are in those cages and their abilities are suppressed, they're safe to be around each other. And we figured out even a little crystal on the gnome's body would suppress their abilities, but would also make it so they were safe to all be around each other. This was kind of big. Oh yeah, this, by the way, the moment that interrogation scene I mentioned is when our friend Haley joined our D&D group and joined a party. Watching Vennyx go dark badass dad was a wild intro to the party. Yes, it was. But so we managed to find this cave. We managed to find Estia, Vennyx's daughter. By the way, in that fight, there was the fight got really ugly, and Vennyx took a bad hit to the face, so he got a scar. That's what this art comes from. This is his level 8 artwork with a big old cool scar going across the face. But anyway, he finds his daughter, finds out that his wife is still safe in Denival. Like, they've had a fairly happy life so far. Like, his daughter's 16 at this point and hasn't met her dad, and she's actually happy to see him, which honestly, one of the cruelest things that the DM could have done, because the DM also played a dad in a campaign that I was running, and I was being way meaner. And so the response was, I'm going to be nice to you. And I'm like, now I feel awful. Anyway, but so we managed to save Estia. We managed to wipe out the cult and stop them from what they were doing. They were trying to bring back that lich I'd mentioned before. And as a result, we had access to a cave full of anti-magic stones, a bunch of extra anti-magic stone material, and a possibility for how to fix the gnome problem. These stones made it so gnomes could stay around each other. It would involve not having constant access to your power, but it was at least a temporary solution. And we had the idea, we're going to form a colony in there. So we get some downtime after all this. Vennyx goes home and actually is able to reunite with his family after rescuing his wife from a necromancer, because Dungeons and Dragons, that ends up happening every time. So he goes back, has about a year of good, peaceful downtime. And one of the things I really like about that is, as a result, his level 11 art, he's actually smiling. Like, this is a guy who is relaxed. I'm always happy about this particular turn moment. I've been away from my family for a decade and a half, and I finally got to go home. That's what that face says. And he had about a year. In addition, while he was home, he managed to get something a little bit special, a magical tattoo. I did basically a sakura blossom tree on his chest. And what this tattoo does is it gives him resistance to necrotic damage, which actually came in handy in a recent fight. And it's a life well tattoo, which means that anytime when he goes down to 0 hit points for the first time in a day, the tree actually drains of all color, grows a piece of fruit appears on it, and then he's back up at very few hit points. Technically, you roll 1d4 for it, but I've gotten one every single time. So 1 hit point. Yeah. So at this point, he gets back in stuff because the party has discovered that really bad things are happening with the elemental plane of Earth, which they've previously met basically a giant elemental that was effectively a deity named Ashikal, and something is going on with him, and a bunch of basically the people of a city called Manjula have managed to take control of a bunch of elementals, apparently through Ashikal, and it's not clear how they did it. So we had to go and deal with that. This involved, and this is going to be some of the first big art, I believe, going through a hole in the obsidian wall that had been created by Ashikal into the elemental plane. Please show them the rough comic. I do not have that queued up in any way that I'd be able to show it. I'm sorry, Haley. If people want to see that, I'll link it later. But yeah, so we went into the elemental plane of Earth to find out more about what's going on. Turns out some kind of serious control had been put on Ashikal, which needed to be broken. Also, the plane of Earth completely messed up Rainer's character and turned him into basically a genasi. He became a rock kobold. And on the way out, we managed to track down the army that had invaded the local town and had done this to Ashikal. We managed to kill the baddies and break control by getting, it's a ring of elemental control, of Earth elemental control that was doing all this. And we basically make a deal with Ashikal that we will, at some point in the near future, go to the elemental plane of air and destroy it. Destroy the ring, not the elemental plane. So that happens. But we've also we need to kind of end the war that has sprung up because of all these elementals causing havoc. So we kind of take over Manjula, and we make Rainer's character Kjall into the new, basically the new, I can't remember what the title is, but the new ruler of Manjula. Now, Manjula is sort of based on Vegas in a lot of ways. It's an entertainment town, sleazy, a lot of corruption, a lot of, basically the gangs run everything. I see that Destiny is getting ahead of me on this. But coming up next, we decided that the best thing we could do to make everybody happy, besides, establish order and, improve the governmental system and make it, do a lot of good stuff with there. But we also established a thing called T-Rex Fight Club. So T-Rex Fight Club was an idea. Basically, after the downtime where I went home to my family and had just a lovely time, a couple other people went buck wild with some of the stuff going on. So I decided I want to go buck wild on our next downtime too. So one of the characters, Skuk, is capable of transforming into a T-Rex. So we decided to create the equivalent of professional wrestling, but it involved T-Rexes. And so I was like, how would I do this with Vennyx? Masked luchador. That's exactly how I would do it. He fights for the gnomes. Oh, it's great. Now I get to show one of my other favorite pieces of art from this. It may or may not be my computer background on a lot of things. It is quite good. By the way, one little fun detail. Oh, okay. I'm being told I need to bring up one story too that happened around the same time. One thing I do want to point out first, though, just because I find it fun. The one on the left, on the right is Kit. This is Rosman, who is Skuk's wife, who is the one who turned into the T-Rex. And I just really enjoy drawing them as the announcers, but also being kind of thirsty. So have fun with that. Oh. So I've been told that I need to bring up a particular story. here is the context. The reason, so there's a story about how when we were first doing the takeover of Manjula, we'd shown up as an unstoppable force, basically. We were more powerful than pretty much anyone around there because there are power caps for everyone but PCs, basically. And we met up with all the rulers of Manjula in a round table. And I was acting as bodyguard, basically. I was in the back, not like keeping an eye on everybody. And I spotted one guy reaching for, I think it was a poison dagger or something like that. And what I said I wanted to do is I pull out my crossbow and I want to put an bolt right in the table, right like in front of his crotch. And I tried to do that, and I rolled a 1, which is a critical failure. 1 is bad in D&D. And so what the DM decided is you try to do that. You shoot him in the dick. And the guy just instantly died because it turns out he was a very low-ranked character, but he just was immediately unconscious. A heal was cast on him. It was removed. But forever after that, the party has referred to Vennyx as the Nutcracker. Not a nickname I chose. My favorite thing about the situation is the way I decided to play it was just immediately like, yes, that's exactly what I meant to do to that guy. But it was not. You know what? I'm going to share this story too, just because it got brought up in the Discord the other day to my chagrin. But fun fact, I've discovered the hard way that it's always a bad idea for me to roll any dice on anything that relates to dicks. The reason is one of my earlier characters, a character named Ori, got in an argument, or like there was some kind of like butting heads with one of the other characters, and I made a joke, are we going to have to roll for dick size? I was told by the DM, no, but I already had dice in my hand, and I rolled it, and I got a 1 again. So one of the running gags for the rest of that campaign was that Ori had a micro penis. And so with that, I rolled a 1. With trying to shoot a guy not in the dick and then accidentally shooting him in the dick, I rolled a 1. Like, apparently anything dick related I shouldn't be rolling for, but it has been a running gag. And I would appreciate it if people didn't say in my Discord things about micro penises without context. Anyway, getting back to this, T-Rex Fight Club is awesome. So a little bit after this, we had, there was another big political event, which was a formal ball we all went to. But I decided to draw Vennyx, not exactly comfortable in the formal getup, too constricting. But there's also a piece that I actually just showed my D&D party about an hour ago, because I realized I never actually finished this. This is an unfinished piece, but I hadn't shown it to them either. I didn't want to bring it up on the stream. But, I mean, well, not this one. This is a zoom in of Vennyx dancing with his wife. This is the piece. There you go. You can never stop us talking about micropenises without context. Yeah, fair, I guess. But yeah. So this was the ball. It was a good time. This is one of my favorite pieces of art that I never actually finished because a lot of stuff when it was going into it. And I wanted to do a huge crowd, like a bunch of the NPCs and stuff like that, but it was too much. I just never finished it. All right. I'm trying to remember what happens next. Oh, yeah. So we're moving on. One very big thing that happened that I almost forgot to bring up. So in our exploration of setting up that colony inside the place with the anti-magic stones, we basically make a deal with a local monster that's living there, a Lamia, that we go investigate a possible fountain of youth. So we go and do that, and it turns out not something we can deal with because we actually have to close it down because it's due to a hole in the obsidian wall that's causing problems. But in that time, I get an item called Blazeguard. Blazeguard is a legendary sword that actually has a consciousness in it. It's sentient, so it basically becomes another companion. and allowed me to do sick amounts of damage. So it's a really cool weapon. It also granted wishes. Anyone who knows D&D, a wish is a huge deal. Wish basically allows you to almost change anything you want. And we realize we have a more permanent solution to the gnome issue because of this, because of having these wishes. So we figure out a way to create a spell a very simple spell that will allow a gnome to relocate their spark of chaos. They can put it in another organ, they can put it in another body part, they can put it on an object, whatever they want to do. And as long as they're in contact with it, they'll still have access. So we basically figured out another way to solve the gnome problem, and we used a wish to tell all living gnomes in the world how to do it. So we basically set it up so that they could, this problem, even if the gnome colony didn't work out, which we were able to actually get it started anyway. But even if that didn't work out, we had a solution. And it honestly, so far, working pretty well. The party keeps saying that people are going to start worshiping Vennyx, and I'm really trying to make that not happen. But hey, whatever. But yeah, so Vennyx got a bunch of new kit. He also got from Mikri, one of the other characters, a cape that basically can turn into dragon wings, which I don't use nearly as much as I should, but we'll be working into the design. So this is all leading into the final big arc. Oh, one important thing before we get into that final big arc is we had a beach bachelor party for Mikri because that character got married, and this is Beach Boy Vennyx. I thought you'd enjoy that. It's good times. So anyway, we are just about caught up. I think that is pretty much all the art. I'm going to go back to the most recent art of them. So we are now on the elemental planes. We've gotten that ring destroyed. We are working on fixing something that seems like chaos is starting to come out. We're working on fixing that. But we just hit level 20 after an insane fight where we got to basically fight Draco Lich, basically a skeletal dragon thing that had multiple forms, and it was absolutely crazy and a lot of fun. But at that moment, we all got to level 20, so it is officially time to redraw my character. So what I'm thinking for the pose on this, that took half an hour. I'm sorry about that for anyone who doesn't care about this stuff, but I wanted to have that context. I'm kind of thinking for the pose. Is something along but want to have the dragon wings out for this one. Sword up. Get everything down a little bit. I appreciate the votes of confidence. I enjoyed the story. Neat world. You're a good gauge for that because you've heard nothing about this stuff, so that helps. It's been fun hearing the story from your POV, and half an hour is faster than I would have been able to do it. Yeah, because I was only telling like one character's stuff too. Like, there so much crazy stuff happened with all of us. Oh, one nice moment that I didn't bring up, but it just happened in while we're in the elemental planes, because we're currently in a place called the Astral Sea, which is where souls in the setting go after death for the most part. And going through a storm where we were bombarded with that basically connected us to some of them, I got to meet my sister again, and we had a great moment with that. That was some good closure. Actually, it's funny because as soon as we realized that's what was going on, I immediately went, well, I know who I'm going to see. DM's trying to get me to cry, but I'm too manly. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to make this a lower thing. Turn this to the character pencils too. Get some detail. We all had and you see Estia. That's correct. Oh, right. You guys were also panicking because you forgot that she had the same name as Oh, hey, little peek behind the DM curtain. I didn't know this. Like a month before that happened, you had mentioned wanting to find Sister Estia's afterlife, and I had already been planning that. Well, good. I'm glad it all was exactly in line with the DM plans. And I entirely believe you. You did not just say that to seem like an all-powerful DM. See if this pose is going to work well. By the way, I'm also recording a time lapse of this, so that should be going up on the CX3 Discord later today. Let's see. I think he's going to be turned out a little bit more based on this pose. Just realized I also never showed the art of daughter Estia, but I'll have to get to that at some point. I only have, I think, one piece of her, and it's from the ball, so she's all fancy looking. But yeah, everything I brought up, like that's a full 4 years of working with this character, and it's been interesting. One of the things that's always funny to me is people like to make fun of the fighter in Dungeons and Dragons because it's basic. It's one of the simpler classes to operate and do all this stuff. The thing is, people often say basic as if it's bad. And the fact is, you're doing one thing exceptionally well. And that is the side of an expert. That is, you are able to, you are the best at hitting things. That is what you do as a fighter. By the way, just because the micropenis jokes were coming up, I do want to bring up that Vennyx is fine down there. So, those of you who are curious. I really want to do a group sketch at some point. I'm being called out. You sure you don't want to roll for that, Ben? You sure? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I've been drawing him enough. I know how big it is. Anyway. All right, I think that's going to be good. Let's see. Sword in there. This is all going to be roughs. I'm going to be looking at the reference when I do the sword in particular, but let's figure out position first. Is that better than up? No, I think I want to do up. I am getting roasted in the chat. Hold on. We all know, as an artificer, Kit likes figuring out how to make small things work. So, oh, this is also true, by the way. We've joked before about how Vennyx is the only character in the party with an external penis. I am the only male mammal in the party. We've got I'm okay. I forget so Mikri is a mix of Dragonborn and Kobold. I can't remember. There are two types, Koborn and Dragonbold, because confusing. I think Dragonbold. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kjall is a Kobold, and Skjuk is a Corvid folk, basically Kenku, for those who know that type of thing. I'm being corrected. He's Koborn. I'm also being told only mammal, period. I'm counting Rosman. Rosman is a gnome, but Rosman is also a lady, an AFAB. So nothing down there. Well, not that down there anyway. All right. Get the scar marked there. Hair everywhere. You know, I just realized one of the things I decided I was going to do, but we can't see from this angle, is that he's got a short ponytail now. I don't know, where that might have come from. Anyway. Let's see. So I need to remember how I did the cape. So one of the other things is he's going to have sort of a double cape situation going on right now. Because he has this cloak, and we also got a cloak that allows you to breathe underwater. And I was kind of thinking, what if he actually wears both, if they're light enough for that? Typical hybrid naming conventions are that the male parent species comes first, i.e. a liger is the offspring of a male lion and a tigress, while a Tyon is the offspring of a male tiger and a lioness. Same with Koborn and Dragonbold. Okay, that's interesting. It's just confusing because I would think that they'd still be the same species. It's different nomenclature, but whatever. What do I know? But yeah, I actually want him to have a second cloak underneath this cloak, which would be pretty cool. I think I am still going to have it go over his shoulders, though. I was wondering if it would like unwrap, basically. But I think instead the cloak itself will just go out and form wings. They are draconic, so, Who the Y chromosome comes from makes a big difference in hybrids. Oh, good to know. Learning stuff. Ariane does very good research on a lot of the world building stuff they do. Let's see. Wings too small to actually let you fly, but whatever. It's fantasy. I want to fit in the square. That's going to be better. Let's shrink them a little bit. Crunch a little bit. Right? That's that part. You know, I'm not sure about doing the extra cloak, so I'm going to make another layer while I draw it. I thought it would be a cool new detail to have added to the character, but I guess I need to look up what a Cloak of the Manta Ray would look like also. Actually, imagine it kind of having more of a... No. All right, I need to look up a picture of a manta ray. Hold on. Or a Cloak of the Manta Ray, at least. I am going to D&D Beyond. This is not a sponsorship. Okay, I see what I was thinking of. So this is the item as drawn on. What? I don't know what that is. There we go. Okay, so it'd be designed more like... be a lot sharper. Let's see. Yeah, you know, I'm not digging it. I was hoping to give him some more redesign elements because not a lot has changed about his design since the last one, but I thought that might be an interesting way to take it. I did like the idea that they had a cloak under the cloak, but I don't think it's going to look right. Let me bring back... I'm actually going to move this image onto mother screen so that I can reference it when I need to. You know what? I'm actually going to show the cloak over the shoulder turning into the wing. So now the armor. I always gave him fold over the chest armor because that was part of the theming that I had for him. A lot of my characters have a very specific theme that I do a lot of their design around, and Vennyx's is the heart. Heart is a big recurring theme in Vennyx's design. Because, you know, gnome hearts are kind of a big deal to him. But yeah, he's got... I had the armor always designed to sort of be double layered over his chest. I've had... actually, let me bring back this art. If you look closely at the shield, I've got it turned, and it's not really going to show up well on the final art of this because of how I have it angled. But that is a heart in the center of it with a bunch of other things going across it. Also, if you look at the embroidery on the chest, which I just realized I'm going to have to redraw, yay, there's a rose right over the heart. Like it's a recurring theme for the character. The locket I showed before was was shaped like a heart. Oh, other fun things about this character. I made him into romance novels. Like it's one of the recurring gags that I came up with a while ago. We were inside a tower looking around, and we found a huge library of books in various languages, and we were told we could find anything. And I just said as a joke, could Vennyx find just the trashiest romance novel there? And I decided, okay, I think he got into this because Kit used to read them, and like when he was staying with her, that was basically all she had. So he ended up reading a lot of them, and so he got into that. There was a very funny moment later on when I decided he was going to dabble with writing them. He's not very good at it, but he's learning. Writing's a skill. But what was great about it is he wasn't telling people that he was working on it. He just had a journal with him that he was writing in all the time. But Rainer's character, Kjall, decided to sneak up and catch a peek. It was in Gnomish, so he couldn't actually read it, but he decided to get to memorize a couple words, then later take it to someone to get translated. The words he found were grasping at her throbbing bosom, which we decided was just going to be the best possible thing he could find being written by this character. So yeah, that was an excellent time. Come to think of it, I don't know if Destiny, I don't know if you knew about that, because I don't think you were there when that conversation actually happened. But surprise. All right, get that set up. The poofy pants. I couldn't bring myself to ever get rid of the poofy pants. I like them too much. Oh, for anyone who is into D&D, we did come up with one thing that was kind of fun in the last fight. We turned immovable rods into arrows. And it didn't end up working for us, but maybe you'll have better luck. So there's a free one for you if you're ever fighting something big. Let's see. So I've always kind of drawn him with sandals and in tabi. And it didn't really occur to me at the time, but one of the funny things about that is, so it's common for gnomes in this setting to pose as halflings, because halflings don't get hunted for their hearts. But one of the key ways of spotting a gnome versus a halfling is that in this setting, halflings only have 4 fingers and 4 toes. So it's very common for gnomes to own gloves that basically make it look like they only have 4 fingers. But I also realized after the fact, that's a perfect reason for this style of sock to be common among gnomes, because you can't see all the toes. All right, let's get rid of some of the leg there. Get the strapping. You'd be holding on to that. And there'd also be a break up there. Get more around. All right, I'm going to move this whole thing down, and then I think we're ready for the next step. Why are you not moving? Here we go. Oh, Sorry. What's going to be the one thing you're really going to miss about playing Vennyx? Hitting so many times. That's really nice. Uh, I'm not sure. It's funny because I'm ready. Like, we're getting near the end of the campaign. That's what level 20 means. But I am also pretty ready for this campaign to be over. Like, I've loved playing this character. It's been an amazing experience. But I'm also excited to do new things. This story is pretty much told. Here we go. Wanted to get that because now I can figure out the cloak. Oh, right. I forgot the clasp looked like an egg. That's what that was supposed to be. But yeah, Vennyx has been. Vennyx was I like my D&D characters to be a bit of a challenge for me. The big challenge I had with Vennyx is that he doesn't share everything. He's very quiet. I wanted to keep secrets from the party for at least a little bit. Like the whole I want to rip out my heart thing. He played very close to the vest. It took a while to find out what was going on. And right around the time when he decided he was comfortable enough revealing this stuff to the party, Mikri, Destiny's character, actually figured out exactly what I was thinking of and like why I was doing it, which was kind of amazing. But yeah, that was always interesting. There's a lot of fun, like making dad jokes, being as embarrassing as possible to people. I think it's really cool that we're doing another in the campaign's world. It means that we're saying goodbye to the characters, but the effects of their actions are still going to be going. This is true. The next campaign we're doing with this particular group, I'm playing a radically different character who is unfortunately still a gnome. That just kind of happened. But it is going to be a very, very different kind of campaign. Going to be a lot more morally ambiguous. I'll tell you that, because my character, the anti-dad gnome. Yeah. Vennyx is very much a dad, like in more ways than one, more than just the literal. He is like, he makes dad jokes. He's goofy. He's also the one who's like sort of last minute responsible whenever stuff happens. But the next character I'm going to do has strong uncle vibes, like the one that that uncle that is always fun to be around, but the parents don't invite much. Yeah, I'm going to be playing a compulsive liar, and I'm very excited about that. Whatever the male version of the vodka aunt is, that is correct. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I get to do my salesman voice, which is one of my favorite voices to do whenever I'm doing just about anything. It's a lot of fun. I get to fast talk and do all kinds of goofy stuff. But yeah, his name is Yabo. And the whole concept behind him is he has absolutely no magical ability, but he wants to convince everyone that he's the world's greatest illusionist. So he studied practical magic. But he's going to be so full of shit. It's fantastic. If I could, you know what? I'm not able to go into Discord, but Destiny, please put that line, whatever the male version of the vodka aunt is, in the quotes, because that is fantastic. Ah. That's going to look cool when I do some detailing. Oh yeah. Can't wait to play Yabo's Apprentice. You will get to very soon. Apprentice is a strong word. No, the we're gonna have a wild party. We've got a charlatan magician, his assistant, who's a traumatized goblin rogue. Also we're switching to Pathfinder, by the way. That's a fun thing. A kind of nice but sort of dumb big cat demon person, and a mad scientist that wants the goblin's blood all the time. To be fair, I don't think just the goblin's blood, but definitely some of the goblin's blood. One of the things we've been giving Rainer a hard time for, Rainer's playing the mad scientist character, is that he keeps creating the most horrifying illustrations of this character. I love them. They are great. They make me happy. But I'm pretty sure Rainer is the new sleep paralysis demon for some of the party. Not Rainer's character. Rainer himself is now a sleep paralysis demon. All right, let's get this sword right. Oh. Nightmare-inducing. Oh, it didn't come up. Nightmare-inducing early. Really? Curses on the earth. The my crops have been watered and my skin is clear illustrations. He will be his son. That is the correct response. One of my favorite things about every time Rainer posts an illustration of the character is I just start coming up with roasts. It is very satisfying because, I don't know, I like good-natured roasting. I'm always making sure that everyone's okay with it, but I mean, I don't know that any of us could be okay with Doc, so it's all good. I think my favorite of the roasts was when I said that Doc blinks one eye at a time, because that became canon like immediately. We're going to do some fun shiny effects on this blade a little bit later. Is a rapier, so it's a very, very thin blade. I'm not quite happy with that line. It's fun to roast Doc because he should be burned with fire. It takes so much skill to create something so unspeakable that I would rather fight the gamification of whatever Twitter is. Okay, that also requires some explanation. So one of the things that's interesting about this world is it turns out a lot of what we've been fighting are things from the real world, specifically memes. The chaos realm, which is what a lot of our problems have been stemming from, is the real world. And so there are situations where we found out at one point that there are chaos beings that have been buffing our characters and making and controlling them and giving them influence, and a big part of why they're as powerful as they are. And it turns out that those chaos beings are the players. So all of us, including me, are canonically in this setting, which was not expected, was interesting, and I think may still need to get dealt with. But one of the things that has come up is that a few of the things we're fighting are manifestations of things from the internet. One of the worst fights we had in the entire campaign was against what turned out to be the YouTube comments section, and it was as ugly a fight as you'd imagine. God, suddenly having to concentrate here. There we go. But yeah, there's been a lot of little stuff like that. I think, I don't know if this was just temporary because that was their username at the time, but the primary chaos being that got brought up was Arienne's, and at the time, their name in the Discord channel was Cheeseburger, so they are known as Cheeseburger. Of course, Icon has Cheeseburger fame. That's angled wrong. You know what? I need to fix that too. A lot of fixing right here. This is not good. Here we go. Get you clipped higher. Want that to have more curve to it. There we go. Yeah, I'll definitely miss playing Vennyx on occasion. I imagine it'll be very strange going back to level 1 and not being so much squishier than we were. Oh. Ooh. I'm setting up my new tablet right now, and the first thing I plan to draw with it is the party at level 20. That's exciting. I can't wait to see that. Let me know what you think of the tablet. You got a Huion, right? I've been using Huion now for a little while. I really like the tablets. They're a great alternative to Wacom. Wacom's come out with the Wacom 1, which is supposedly very good and equivalent to this. But when I got this, the closest equivalent Wacom tablet was twice the weight and like $1,500 more expensive. And this has been fantastic. So if you're shopping around for tablets, I do highly recommend giving Huion a look, because I am very happy with how they do business and how their stuff is set up. I've only had I've had 2 serious tech issues, and both were fairly easy to resolve. I ended up having to get new cables, and I had to get a new pen, but it's because I lost the old pen. And both of them got resolved pretty quick, mostly pretty painlessly, better than I've had with most tech companies. So yeah, I give them a lot of credit. I really like Huion a lot. What we got? Pathfinder 2e is also a much deadlier system. So going to level 1 from level 1 Pathfinder to level 25e is going to require some extra. What we can do without dying expectation changes. I'm fully expecting at least one PC to die. I mean, I don't know. Ariane is the DM. I don't know if any of us are going to die. Sorry, that's an ongoing thing for anyone who doesn't know. That I like to poke, poke the beehive that is. Hey, I enjoy. Did I just? Ah, I hit the space bar without switching back to the window. But yeah, I like to poke a little bit at the DM. One important thing, if any of you are interested in playing D&D and you haven't before, there's a common misconception about Dungeons and Dragons. I know others talk about this, but I just want to throw this out there. The DM is not against you. The DM's job is to run the game. And in most cases, they want you to win. Like, that is what a good DM should want to do. So I will poke fun all day at Ariane because it's fun to do. But like, Ariane's on our side. It's good stuff. Listen, Demo might be the tank, but Yao just made himself the meat shield. They'll never hit me. I cast mirror image. I can't cast spells, but he'll keep claiming he can. Can't wait until Rainer's PC dissects mine. I'm sure that'll be horrifying. The trick is that next time we'll be fighting each other rather than dying by Ariane's hands. That would actually be a good solution. If the only way we can be killed is if we're the ones killing each other. All right. I can't believe I mostly inked this guy already. I wasn't even thinking about it. Felt like I was going way too slow. Ah, that was wrong. It's like Keyleth, but it's a whole party. Spoilers. We haven't fought our doubles yet. That would be interesting. If I had to fight my double, I think the first thing I'd have to do is break out all the combat maneuvers that I've never actually used, that I've had sitting there. Those would be what I'm focusing on. All right, how's that look? Got in. One of the other things that's been kind of satisfying with having a character this long is that my like 4 years is a long time for an artist. Like, your stuff changes a great deal in that time. I want to get the scar right before I do the rest of the face. I feel like his face is too rounded. Maybe it's the angle. Let me bring up picture of him. Yeah, I think if I fix the chin, it'll do it. Get the hair in more. Need to fix that eye. It's not going to look right from far out. I'm getting some enthusiasm in the chat. Good to see. Oh, I missed this. Final fight is against Ariane. Y'all have to fly to Portland and we can have a boxing match. I could take him. Are we using normal rules where I can punch 4 times before in a turn? 8 times if I action surge? It'll be great. One thing I want to fix. Also get some clothing folds in the All right, I think that is the line art. Oh, sleeve a little bit. One more there. All right, coloring time. The way I usually like to color this stuff, I'm actually going to drop previous art in and just sample from it. Just realized I haven't had anything to drink while I've been doing all this. Dang. So that's a new thermos I've gotten. I hadn't tried it for hot stuff. I've had the vent open the whole time and it's still very hot. Let's see. Here we are. Give you a shrinky. Where are you? There. All right. Lock you in place so I don't accidentally draw on you. I'm going to do flat colors for a lot of this. Vennyx, by the way, is a deep gnome or Svirfneblin, which is why his skin is kind of gray, stony colored. Nope, I'm close though. Which is why he has white hair when he was a young, tiny baby boy. Not even 100 yet. Yeah. So one of the things that also has come up as a joke is I'm the group dad, even though biologically Vennyx is very young compared to a lot of the party. Uh, Gnomes live several hundred years. Vennyx is in his late 30s. Um, so comparatively, he's very young. It also means he had like he had a kid when he was in his like late teens, maybe early 20s, which is fetus level to a lot of gnomes. To be fair, they reach adulthood around that time anyway. I figure it's fine, but the party has had fun with that. Surprising number of these stories are the party was making fun of me, and it's fair. It goes both ways. Not obvious for me heckling the DM about, you know, it's fine. A lot of people can't kill their PCs. Let's see. All right, let's see how we got. All right. Doesn't have a lot of skin showing, so that's probably all I need for that. Let's do the hair. We do have great banter. Eyebrows. Get the eyes. So, fun fact: part of the reason I made Vennyx's eyes this color, like this kind of blue, is I actually associate that with like wolf eyes, with looking like characters that look very predatory, having these pale blue eyes. And when I was originally picturing he's going to be much darker and more violent, I really liked the idea of having that kind of intense look. Super cool watching your art process as well. Thanks. Yeah, it's funny because I haven't done flat colors in a while. I've been doing a lot of stuff with a more painterly style, but it doesn't feel right for. I've done so much of Vennyx's stuff as in this style that it didn't feel right changing it. Ooh, no. Let's there. Ooh, there's a mistake in there. Let me get back to the black layer. As someone with light blue eyes, thank you. You're welcome. But yeah, I actually thought of it because of there's a show I really liked for a long time called White Collar, all about a con artist who starts working with the FBI to help solve white collar crimes, and he's a charming scam artist. But one of the things that I noticed is he has these like piercing blue eyes, and it always made something look just slightly insincere about him. Like he could sell anything, but there was always a tiny bit of a predatory look to him, the way that they shot him, and I really like that. Uh, oh, at least it told me that these two are good to go. Oop, wrong tool. There we go. That's not going to close the gap. One of the things I really like about Clip Studio is they have a feature called Close Gap when you're filling stuff that makes life much, much easier when trying to fill, because if you've got a little hole, it won't not fill. Real quick, go back to the editing layer. It's supposed to look like an egg. Oh, actually, that'll be better for that color anyway if it's different. You can also set lines as a reference ager in your brush to not cross-reference layers, and you'll always color in the lines. What? I don't actually know what that means, but that sounds like it might be helpful. You're going to have to show me what you're talking about later, because that sounds like a useful trick. Let's see. All right, what color goes next? I'm going to figure out how the shield is colored. I think the inside of the shield is pretty much straight black. But let's do that red around the thin rim. Do a hand. Make the grips red, because why not? Have the red go a little bit beyond the line art. I don't think I need to fix the line art itself. There we go. I don't need to be that. Random trivia fact, just because I'm low on things to talk about for the moment. I recently learned that studded leather armor isn't a thing. That surprised me. The classic thing in Dungeons and Dragons, apparently studded leather armor is not real. So that sucks for all the rogues out there who are now stuck with leather or hide. Apparently, there is something that looks kind of similar that they think that's where the mistake was made. Gary Gygax or one of the other early guys saw it and thought, oh, that's what this is. Gambesons should be better, and I stand by that. Okay, I know their name now. That's the look. That's the thing that looks like it, I guess. Let's do that red sash taken care of. I like giving characters sashes. They always seem cool. I hate that padded armor is the worst armor option in 5e when it is like objectively what a rogue type should be wearing. I could see that. I think the main problem with padded armor is I imagine it gets uncomfortable. It could also restrict movement, I think, just having heavy cloth, but leather would too. My one complaint with Clip Studio is I so frequently grab the wrong tool by mistake. They have so many different types of brushes that sometimes if you click, you misclick. Go. That going there. I also really have fun designing these sandals with how the like wrapping goes underneath, in between the prongs. I don't know if I know a lot of official names for this stuff, but it was fun designing that. Is all I'm saying. There we go. Color were the shoes is the next question. Go. Part of the fun also is this takes place in a desert. I don't actually know if this style of sandal would be particularly useful on sand, but I mean, Vennyx got to level 20 wearing them, so they must be good. That's my logic. Studded leather armor is based off brigadine. The studs hold in metal plates which are not visible. That's right. It's not that there are studs in the leather, it's that there's metal in the leather and the studs are holding it there. That's probably pretty heavy, isn't it? Honestly, I have a Western setting, and that description, I'm going to put it up, is sort of how I was picturing armor working. Because you've got more of a Western setting. You're not picturing people in like full-on plate mail. So what I was picturing was you have dusters and things like that with metal plates inside. Dusters and vests. So it works almost more like how modern combat armor works, where they have ceramic plating. Oh, I can go ahead and hide that now. Let's see. Ah. There's the other foot. Knew it was somewhere. They tend to come in pairs. There we go. So how are we looking so far? Need to get that those sleeves, and then sword. That I think flat coloring is done. Oh, I'll need to do the white. It's one of the steps I usually leave for last. I would explain why studded was better than leather because I cannot see how making leather have little studs made it better. That made sense to me. Those little studs basically meant. Oh, hold on, sorry about that. Those little studs basically meant that you were. If a weapon hit it, it might hit those studs. It wouldn't necessarily help as much for piercing stuff, but I could see how that would increase armor class by 1 without increasing weight. That makes sense to me. But it also wasn't real, so I guess it wouldn't have worked. Those underparts were a different blue, weren't they? Yeah. All right, let's get the white taken care of. So this is going to have a transparent background because that's how things work with Roll20, which is what this token is going to be used on. Eyes. The arguments that you're not supposed to use white when coloring the whites of eyes, but nah. Oh, missed a spot. Oh, not mean to do that. There we go. Consider, it looked badass, and isn't that the fun of fantasy? You also can't really make functional armor out of actual obsidian because it's just volcanic glass, but magic. Yes, Skewk has volcanic obsidian armor that is magical, which is why it doesn't break like real obsidian. One of the things I like from the current Critical Role campaign is one of the characters, Ashton, has a great quick way to figure out if something's magic. He takes a little piece of it and tries to break it because magical stuff can't break. So it's like, oh, we found a book. Is the book magical? Take a tiny corner of a page, see if you can tear it. And if it can't tear, paper's magical. Did I get that white spot already? I did. All right, cool. I'll have to do you know what? I'll do the check now. Let me switch to, oop, wrong color. Let's make it, I'd set it to black, but maybe I didn't click right. Here we go. All right, doesn't look like I missed any spots. I like it. That is a way faster than detect magic. It's true. So what I'm hearing is that biting a coin trick works if you're checking to make sure it's real. The biting a coin trick does work to make sure it's real. The entire reason they did that is that gold is soft enough that you can bend it with your teeth, and a lot of other metals aren't. So when people would bite coins, that's what they were checking for. That is actually a real thing. But the problem with working with multiple things at once is sometimes you're in the wrong window. Never got these little buckles. Let's get the buckles. Did I actually usually don't have things just end in leather? Is that what I did here? Screw it. It's going to look cooler. Okay. This is going to be the nightmare part. I'm going to unlock this. Move it. Want to approximate the stitching. Not going to have to do it perfectly, but very thin. What do we have? Guys, why did I decide the drag lich was skeletal? Skeletons are so hard to draw. They are hard to draw. The good news is it's, a dragon skeleton. So you can make it technically look any way you want. This part never got seen before, so I'm just going to do a cool little. There's a lot of conversation happening. The Dracolich had soul flesh. Now psychic soul flesh is the easy part. Also, human skeletons are 1,000 times easier than animal skeletons. True. I've been drawing human skeletons regularly since I was like 14. Just artist things. One of my favorite things to draw is a skull with a drippy tongue. It's one of the things I often do when I'm testing a pen. Just like, I need to draw something. Skull with drippy tongue. Remind me at the end of this, and I'll draw one real quick, just so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, enough putting it off. Wait, how lazy do I want to be? Not that lazy. I was debating opening up the art file on the other one and seeing if I could just copy paste it, but nah, it's a coward's way out. Of course, if this ends up looking awful, then I will go ahead and do that. But so far, it's looking okay. I'll go through and add all the accoutrement in a little bit. I don't think this is going to end up 1-to-1, but it will capture the spirit of it. You know what? I see part of the problem. That'll make it look much less crowded. Thicken that one too. All right, let me zoom out. I think that's going to look good. Also do a little side stitching over here because there's just too much empty space there. Okay. That went better than I thought it was going to go. Let's move you up. Create another layer because I'm going to do some of the sword detailing. With that. And this I will use a brush for. When I was designing Blazeguard, I wanted to really capture sort of a look of holy fire, because it's a paladin sword. Like, it does a lot of radiant stuff. Thank you for the compliments in the chat. I do see them. So one of the early detailing things I like to do is get some green in here and kind of make like a flame texture on the pommel. And then, oh, that's too big. Up through there. All right. A couple things I also want to add before I do the shading layer. Let's get that in there. All right, we're on to shading. Actually, I take that back. There's one thing I want to do to inform where the light's going to come from. And I think I want to do it on top of everything. Let's get on the right. That and the green in there too. Do the green around the edges more. And have some white in the center. No, not quite. Okay. I can never remember if it's the top layer or the bottom layer you want to do this on. It's taking a second to render because my computer is also working on the stream. Wait a minute. All right, which one did I just do that to? Okay, got it. So I did want this one on top. Try switching it to glow. It's a lot. Hold on. I'm going to do some stuff by hand. Let me get a white background on that, see what that looks like. Actually, let's see what it looks like on the black background. Oh, it disappears on black. That's interesting. Disappears on white, too. The trick to have this just be... That's going to look cool. Bye, Haley. Thanks for popping in. Nice to have the party there. You probably just want normal with some transparency. Yeah, I think you're right. The glow effect still is doing some cool stuff, though. Cool. Won't be as obvious with the transparency here, but hopefully when the final icon is done, it'll do more. On top of that, I'll do some quick, a little bit of light shaping. I don't like doing a lot of light shaping because I don't do it very often, but I'm more likely to do shadows because I have trouble figuring out where everything should go. A little bit of light in his eyes. I like that. I do love some transparency on a D&D token, lets you see the background behind them. Color does unfortunately not maintain on transparency for PNG. Color dodge. This is not actually color dodge, but we'll see. Yeah, most of the layer modes just get ignored when you convert to a PNG. Yeah, we'll find out what it looks like. I'm hoping it'll still look cool. We can do tests at the end of this. I'm going to turn this down. It's a little too hard light. There's also stuff like soft light, but that never shows up properly for me. So I usually just do hard light and lighten it whenever I do this. I'm the complete opposite. I actually fill in an entire character in shadow, then carve out the light. Yeah, that's... I tend to put in the shadow spots. I don't actually do light shapes very often. I'm almost all about shadow spots because I have trouble figuring out a lot of this stuff, but that'll work. Okay. Shading layer. Now, typically, I do purple for my shading layer. I find it so interesting how we all do shading so dramatically differently with the same program. Yeah, a lot of the shading stuff I have is self-taught, and I think that's probably the case for a lot of people on digital. So the color I kind of used for the light shapes is that. Where is it? So roughly the opposite would be there. It doesn't feel right. All right, I've been drawing for a while. My brain's a little fried. Light blue, what's the complementary color for that? It would be light yellow and light red. So orange? Is that right? Yeah. Orange, yes. Wanted to use a dark orange for it, but here, I'm going to make an orange. I'm not liking any of these. So that's going to be what? 50, 0, 75, 75. Well, that's a really red orange. 50, 75. That's better. 75, 100. Let's just see if it works. I normally stick with purple for my shading because it's the complementary color of yellow, which is light, but since there's a very bright blue light source, I thought I'd give this a shot. I don't like it. I'm sticking with purple. The exact shade of purple I always use for shading is hex code 663366. I use it so much that I just have that memorized. Turn off the hard light thing. I'm not sure I like that. I'll play with it after I've done the shading. Oh. Whenever the brush seems like it's not working correctly, it's because I'm on the wrong brush. I've switched to airbrush somehow. Let's see. Oh, no wonder that was looking thick. Tool again. Like I said, that's one of my pet peeves with Clip Studio is that it's very easy to switch tools to the wrong tool by accident. All right, I think let's give the light another try. I just want to take a look. Let's try a few other types. How about straight overlay? That just disappears. Soft light's all right. You know, I think this might be it. I think this might be the token. Now, what I'm going to do, hey, you get to see some of my other characters. Save. Thanks, Rainer. And Destiny. I see you both. It's running a little slow because I'm working on the export. Switch back to full comic because... Oh, crap. Cancel. So, for something I had to do before, I actually had the settings off. I need to fix something. I like that I ended up with dragon wings. Like, that just was not expected at all. But we had one of those weird situations where Mikri, whose character was dragon obsessed, got his hands on some dragon wings and didn't need them because he can turn into an actual dragon now. So, yeah. All right, let's see. That's exported. What I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to pop into our game for a second. That's true. I did get 2 fire swords and gave one to Mikri. That was great. My computer is usually faster than this. Swap out you. Oh, I can just drop it. That's helpful. Did it take the drop? Is being a butt. I'll just click to upload. Yeah, my poor computer is struggling right now. Vennyx level 20. I like that basically everyone in the party in some form or another now has sort of dragon bits. I got dragon wings. Mikri's a full on, like, can turn into dragon. Kjall, Kjall is actually the least dragon now because lost lizard bits. And Skuk is a bird folk, which is basically dinosaur. Dropping the token in. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to work pretty well. Looks super tiny at the moment, but that's because this particular map was huge. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. Well, that basically wraps it for the stream. Thank you very much for joining me, both the people from my D&D party and everyone else who decided to pop in for this. Once again, this was a token being made for my level 20 character. We're super, our entire party is excited to finally be here, and it has been quite a journey to get to this point. Sorry, maybe the Dungeons and Dragons is just the dragons we made along the way. That sounds about right. So anyway, if you are just finding this channel, I do art live streams every once in a while. I do Twitch streams with gaming every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We're currently playing through the indie horror game Omori. But I do work like this. I do comics. You can find me over at bwhcomics.com and at bwhcomics all over social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Reddit, basically everywhere. You can also find my weeb comic, Cospain, all about cosplay and convention craziness over at cospaincomic.com. In addition, hello to anyone from CX3 who happened to be here. I've taken over the CX3.Ohio Instagram for the weekend. So if you happen to follow them, you can actually find, I'm doing a Q&A through their through the story. So if you check that out, you can ask me questions and I'll answer them as another part of the story. Let's see. Oh no, Ariane's computer froze, but says, thanks, it was fun to be here. Good luck with the computer, Ariane. I'm sorry about that. And Jessica, thank you for joining for this entire incredibly nerdy shop talk about Dungeons and Dragons. It has been great fun. I love doing these streams. I just haven't had much time for it lately. And I am grateful to everyone for taking the time to sit here and watch me doodle a character that means a lot to me. Like working with a character for 4 years and having a series of massive adventures and getting them basically to the peak of power and soon getting to say goodbye. It's a huge deal, and it's what Dungeons and Dragons is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. You've heard me rambling enough. Thank you very much for joining me, and until next time, rock on, guys, and never stop drawing.